Today I thought we'd go to San Gimignano. It's one of the small little towns in Tuscany. It's just magic. I've managed to get there 3 times, and last visit I was there for about 7 days, so really got to know the town. It's one of those places that's not too big, not too small, but it has a lot of variety. And for this one I thought I would do more one of those views that when you're walking around Tuscany, you're always sort of looking up and looking out. So I thought this is one that's really inspired by that. So let's see how I go. So with this subject, I'm really going to need to rely on my drawing. Or the other way to think of it is to really rely on my measuring where that line exits the top right-hand side and where it's going to exit on the bottom side, because that will give us the true indication of our perspective. And with this one, we're going to really want to be going quite dark. It's almost like an interior dark, actually, this area up here. It's probably about 80% French ultramarine blue, and the rest is the light red ochre, or you can use a terra rosa as well. So now that I've got that main strong line in, now I can start to look at the smaller shapes. Because when we're thinking big shapes, it's really the sky up above the roofline, and then the shadow, and then where the light is. That's the 3 main shapes that I want to get in place. I find if I have those in place, I'm pretty well set. This actually technically isn't a great deal of drawing. The window will require some drawing, some edges, some real nuanced brushwork, but we'll just keep blasting away with this big brush to get this big shadow in. And don't forget to step back at these early stages as well. It's not only just for the ending. I find if I'm painting away and I'm kind of struggling, not sure where to go, it's that stepping back. That's where I find the answers. I always feel that whenever I'm in a little bit of trouble or not sure where to go, I always find the answers from that 2 meters, 2 yards back. And actually when you're plein air painting, that can be one of the difficulties, because sometimes you actually do not get that amount of space. If a subject's good, you'll kind of put up with anything to a degree. But now I'm bringing in those light areas. This is really for most painters, is the important part. But I actually feel the shadows are just as important. It's 50-50. The light will get all the attention, but it really is the shadows that we really want the viewer to be looking at. And there's an interesting little reflection in this window, and it's mostly just in the right-hand window, not sort of the both. I think because one of the shutters is, say, half closed, half open, it's probably just blocking a little bit of reflected light. And that's not a bad thing, actually, because it's a little bit like the 2 eyes on a person. We don't want them the same strength. So this actually forces my hand, which is good, to make sure that I'm just getting that right-hand side, the stronger area. So keeping that warmth coming through this painting, that's the key. That's why if you're ever in doubt, just keep adding a little bit of colour into your shadows. It truly is the colour that adds the depth. If you feel you're one of the painters that love to use a lot of colour and your paintings are very vibrant, well, this may not apply, but most painters are in that mid-range of not too warm, not too cold, and I think that's probably where I think it is best to be. So that's, especially with this subject, that's what I'll be aiming for, not getting it too cold, because our shadows will fall flat. Because it's truly is the reflected light up into there. So now we'll get up into that sky, and a great little tip with this is to use a little bit of King's Blue. It's just a marvellous little mid-range. The upper part of the sky will be French ultramarine in most cases, and as we go down further, there will be a little bit of the King's Blue. It almost matches beautifully. Even though we are looking straight up into the sky, but I'm using mostly King's Blue and that upper, the part closest to the top of the board, a little bit of French ultramarine blue in there. So that'll just give us that small little field of depth there, which when we're painting, we're looking for every little aspect and every little nuance to create the illusion of depth and detail as well. And this is where we're getting into that guttering. They have these little spikes, which I'd actually never noticed before, but they help break up that diagonal line nicely. And I think that's why I love to use them in this aspect. And you may sort of think to yourself, well, geez, you know what? That's a little bit of a concern. Why didn't I notice something like that? But it's something that I've actually learnt and talking to a few artist friends, and how quite a few times you can be painting along and suddenly think, oh, geez, I didn't even notice that was there. Is my observation skills not what I need them to be or want them to be? But I've come to realise that detail, that visual information comes to us or needs to come to us when we're ready, when we need it. So we don't want or need everything straight away in that instant when we start. And it's almost like a drip feed of information, building up the detail, building up the tension in that visual image. And I did follow the reference a little too much here early on. And sometimes that can be a trick, because both pots had different bases, one white and one green. And I thought, oh, that'd be fun to put the two different colours in, but I found them just contrasting a little too much, so I simplified the white one, the right-hand one. So I'm just bringing in my little brace to get it's just an old insert liner that I would frame with, but it's marvellous for getting those really sharp lines. I find once we're getting to this stage, I know we're getting pretty well to the business end, the finishing touches. So yes, I'm just bringing that little size 3 Rosemary & Co. It's the Master's Choice brush. It's another excellent little brush for doing these final touches. Years ago, I would aim to do these touches with a big brush and just found them really difficult. So don't be afraid to go for smaller brushes. They can actually become, but it's at the end, not too much in between or at the start. I feel as that came out really well. I think this type of scene, one of the great secrets, or one of the secrets we have to learn, is how to get depth into our shadows. So it's a base of the right tonal change from light to dark, but also getting enough colour into that shadow. I think that is one of the great secrets. I remember artist friend Robert Wade saying most people miss getting colour into their shadows, and they're missing out on getting that depth. So hope you enjoyed it. All the best. Bye for now.